Okay, so we should be live here, folks. Live in the six-figure here we go, six-figure house flipper group. So we should be live. I always need to check. I always need to check to make sure it's live, just to make sure there's no technical issues. Yes, and we are. Awesome. Cool, 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 cool. Exciting stuff. Hey, so we are here today. We are talking about, we're live in the Facebook group Six Figure House Flippers. It's on the wall behind me. Yeah, looking forward to getting to the topic today is taxes. I get this a lot. I get this question a lot about the taxes. Like, okay, what are you taxed? How much are your taxes? What are ways to get around the taxes? So we'll talk about all of that. First, if you're joining in live, like we always do, comment hashtag live. If you're joining on the replay, comment hashtag a replay. And what that does is with Facebook engagement, like if more people comment and like, more people are going to see it, so more people can benefit from this. As of now, we have about 1,200 people in this Facebook group. So unless we do that, unless we comment like hashtag live or hashtag replay, not everyone sees it, which is kind of a weird Facebook thing. I'm not going to get into it, but yeah, exciting stuff. So we're going to be talking about taxes here, but yeah, hashtag live for the live, hashtag replay for the replay. And we're going to be talking about taxes real quick. So my background, I'm a fix and flipper out of Gainesville. My name is Victor. I'm working on, I went full-time in real estate about 2.5 years ago. My first deal closed Halloween of 2018. And yeah, that's that. So I went full-time. So first year I did 2 flips, then 8 flips. Then did 20 last year. The goal is 30 for this year. I've bought, I guess I'm a little behind, but I have a lot under contract. I've bought 14 so far, 14. Bought 14 so far. I'm buying 2 on Friday. I bought one today and I sold one on Monday. So it's always moving parts and always flips and buying and selling and all this good stuff. So yeah, I just want to get into it here. But yeah, that's me. That's my bracket, active fix and flipper out of Gainesville. So want to talk about that. Before I talk about like the taxes thing, just want to mention like I'm not an attorney. I'm not an accountant. A lot of the stuff I'm going to give you in terms of advice is like high level advice. So that's the key here. Like I don't want to make any wrongful accusations, like assertions. I don't want to make any wrong points here. We're going to be talking about all this stuff kind of high level here. The thing about, so let's talk about the taxes here. Now that all that fun stuff is out of the way. With the taxes, I've always been interested in this. Like a lot of the people, especially like who haven't gotten started, like their biggest concern is taxes. And I always see it like, so taxes are taxes, but I'd rather you get started and let's say you make 30,000 on your first flip and you pay taxes versus being so afraid of the taxes and the eventual tax bill that you actually never get into it. I've seen so many people get in their head like, oh, what about the taxes? And then they just get into analysis paralysis and they never pull the trigger. So I'd rather the thing, I know it's not ideal to pay them. We do have to pay them, but it's a good sign typically. So if you're making money, you're paying taxes. I'd rather make $1 million and pay half of it in taxes than only make 100,000. Or I'd rather make 100,000 and pay a third of it in taxes than never not make that at all. So like taxes are taxes, but that's how I think of it overall. Like I'd rather make more, and then like some of it gets taken away, just because of that bill, just because of the IRS. But that's how I think about it overall. So like I'd rather you guys be making more, and even if you're getting taxed more, like at least you guys are making more. So that's what really matters here. So I want to like share that with people. So like if you're making money, you're paying taxes, typically it's a good thing. I know I go across the grain when I say something like that, like if you're paying taxes, that's a good thing. Or if you have a large tax bill, like that typically means you're moving in the right direction, especially if your tax bill, like all things being equal, let's say your tax bill gets higher every year. Well, hopefully like you're making more, but I'd rather you have that problem than like your tax bill getting lower just because you're making less. So I just want to set that as a framework here. Typically, so it is going to depend, like what's the amount is the other question I get. It is going to depend on your state. It is going to depend on like what sort of legal structure you have, like if it's an LLC or an S corp or a C corp, or like if it's a sole proprietor or whatever. Like the legal structure is going to matter. What else matters? Like state, federal, legal structure, what your income is. But typically, on average, it's about 1/3 of your profit is going to go to taxes. I mean, there's ways to mitigate that. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But typically about 1/3 of your income. So let's say you make 30,000 on a flip. So typically, 10,000-ish I'd set aside. I'd rather you be conservative, set that third aside. And okay, you didn't have to use all of it, but at least you have it set aside, ready to go. I'd hate for you to be, especially like once you start like really ramping up and doing more deals, I'd hate for you to be in the middle of a lot of deals and suddenly get hit with a big tax bill. It's like, oh shoot, now I have to deal with this. You have 20,000 in the bank, and that's what your tax bill is, and that really paralyzes you in terms of like getting your existing renovations done. So that's how I look at it for that. But typically, you'll set aside about 1/3 conservatively to put that aside. If it's less, then good for you. Good for you. Cool. There's a couple ways to lower the taxes. 1031. So 1031, if you guys aren't familiar, it's kind of like it's called a like kind exchange. So basically, you whenever you sell a property, you can then take those proceeds and then put it into another property. And if you do that, it's not necessarily like, it's more tax deference, meaning like if you exit the 1031 exchange, you'll eventually have to pay all of the taxes in that chain. But like it's a tax deferment strategy. Like you don't have to pay the taxes now, but eventually you will have to. I think it's either like you pass away and it gets inherited. That's when you don't have to pay the tax, is the first one. Or if you just do another 1031. I think those are like the two exit strategies. So you can either pass away, you can either do another 1031, or you can remove it from the 1031 and then you have to pay taxes on all of it. And I mentioned it's in a chain because it's in a chain. So if you do a 1031, a 1031, a 1031, a 1031, and then you exit the 1031, you have to pay tax on the first one, pay tax on the second one, pay taxes on the, on all of them in between. It's not just one of them. It's not just one of them. That's what I thought when I got started into it. And I was wrong. So that happened. What's good about it, let's talk about the pros and cons of 1031. So 1031 is good just because you can defer your taxes. So that's a good thing. Let's talk about all the bad things, because there's a lot of it. People don't realize there's a lot of fees associated with 1031. So back when I was doing it, and I don't do it anymore, and I'll talk about why. I think it was about $600, about $600, I think, anytime you went into one or anytime you exited one. So just keep in mind, this is something that a lot of people don't talk about. So anytime you like enter or exit, like you're going to have like these fees, and that sort of, starts to add up. That's quite a bit of money. So that's the first thing with the 1031. The other thing is nobody talks about the time frames. So you have 45 days to identify a property. You have to basically write it down on a piece of paper saying like, hey, this is the property I want to buy. And then you have 6 months to close on it. So 6 months to close on, that's not bad. The really tricky one is the 45 days. Just because you can imagine with the market being so hot, trying to find a deal within 45 days, that's pretty tight, especially with a low inventory. Like that's going to be hard to find, and especially 45 days. Like what if the deal falls through? Then that one doesn't count, and you get some issues there, because that does happen. Not every deal goes through. Not every deal gets to the finish line. So that's that. So you have to look at that. And but 45 days is just a really tight timeline to find something. And this is what I found out when I was doing it, is you're not in a position just to do a deal. It's like, I have to do a deal. And even if it's a bad deal, just because you'll be hit with all the previous taxes. So that's the position I got in. So that's what we were doing with the 1031. Like we would do 1031. Okay, exit the property. Okay, we got 45 days. Okay, hurry, and get something. And sometimes the deals would fall through. It's like, okay, that's not good. And then it would suddenly be like, okay, now we've got a deal. And sometimes we'd be forced to do a deal. And if you have to do a deal, it's probably a bad deal. If you have to do a deal, like that's going to be a bad deal. You want to be coming from a place of like abundance, where it's like, hey, I can do this deal if I want to. I don't have to. No big deal. No big issue there. So So that's my 2 cents on that. So that's the 1031. So stop doing it. We did it 3, 4, 5 times. And that was the thing, especially when you're successful with flipping, it suddenly became problematic where what was I going to say? Where like we were doing more and more deals just because every time we did a flip, we'd have profit. So we'd have like, okay, let's start had 100,000, and then for our next round we have 130,000. So now when you put, so we were forced to do more deals, bigger deals, and within a quick ramp up period. Again, that 45 days wasn't enough. So eventually we broke the chain just because we couldn't do a deal. And I think probably the last deal we did in that 1031 exchange, like it was a forced deal. Like it wasn't like it was a decent deal. It was like we're going to make like 10, 15,000, but it was that or pay all the previous bills. So those are my thoughts on the 1031. So it's an all right strategy. Just think of it like a tax deferment strategy. If you think of it like I don't have to pay taxes if I do 1031, then just realize like that's probably not going to happen. Unless you plan to keep the properties forever, that's a different story. But if you're flipping them, I just haven't had a lot of success with that, honestly. That's the 1031. So again, yeah, so 1031. Next thing I want to talk about, I talk about this a lot with like this is the pattern with regards to getting started here. So I recommend like do a flip, do a rental, do a flip, do a rental. And you can do 2 flips, do rental, whatever that ratio is, but it's that sort of order. And for a lot of the people I work with in terms of mentorship, what benefits them the most is like, would you rather, like right now with your financial situation, would you rather plus 30K in your bank, i.e. a flip, or plus 300 a month in terms of a rental? And for most people, it's plus 30K because then you have like an emergency budget. You have like you can pay off some debt, maybe go on a little vacation, but that puts you in a much better, much stronger financial position versus the 300 a month. 300 a month, not to knock it, but that's maybe like half a car payment. That's maybe a quarter of a mortgage. I mean, it's maybe a phone bill, family phone bill. It's not going to get you too far. But the 30K is like, oh, that's, you can maybe pay off some loans, pay off some debt. You can really go far with that. Even just sitting on it in the bank account is huge. So that's why I recommend like the flip, rental. And then once you do your flip, like you can use that 30K, let's say it is 30K, you can put that into rental as a down payment. And then it's like, okay, I can buy as many rentals as I want. So as fast as you can go through that, as quick as you can do it, then you can, do more of that. So that's really exciting as well. So that's so flip rental. So why do I mention it if I'm talking about taxes? Because it's a great like tax strategy. So with rentals, like you get some depreciation, you get some other tax benefits to owning the property. So let's say you have a high tax bill with a flip, and then you have like let's call it like a negative tax bill with a rental. Well, that's going to kind of offset it. So then you're doing better with regards to like that. So that's a strategy. I don't do that too much myself, just because I've been really focused on the flips. I have a couple rentals, nothing crazy, but doesn't offset all the flips that I'm doing. I just like the flips. I want to just build a big flipping machine, basically. So that's that. So that's another way to do it, like the rentals. So I'm going to open up to questions here. So if anyone has questions, feel free to drop it in the comments below. We have Raphael, keep giving good info. Victor, I appreciate it. Albert says hi. Marcus says #live. Rosanna says #live. Thanks so much, guys, for joining. Oops, did I drop off the live? But if you have a question, feel free to drop it below. Okay, no, I'm still here. Yeah, we've quite a bit of people watching live. So that's it in taxes. I think the final note, and I'll answer questions if there are any, so put that in the Facebook comments below. When it comes to taxes, and you just got to pay them. I don't think there's any way around it. There's deferment strategies, there's like reduction strategies, and those are fine. Those are legitimate. Those are ethical, legal, all that good stuff. It's not to do like tax evasion where you don't pay them. So you have to make sure to pay them. That's really important. And I see them like it's a good thing. Like if you're paying more, that's typically a good thing because you're earning more. Again, I'd rather you make 6 figures and pay a third than make nothing and pay nothing. So that's how I look at it. So I'm going to do a quick review here of what I talked about. But again, if you have any questions, feel free to drop it below. Gabriel has a question. I'll get to that in a second. So again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm just giving my high-level advice as a fix and flipper. I am out of Gainesville. I'm a fix and flipper here. I think the biggest thing with taxes, like, don't let it hinder you. I'd rather you get out there, do a deal, and pay taxes than not do it because you're just so afraid of the eventual IRS bill. It's typically a good sign if you're doing that. On average, it's about a third of your income. It's going to depend on a lot of variables, but just set aside a third, and that should put you in a good place. I talked about the 1031, how it has pros and cons. In my opinion, mostly cons. So that's why I don't do it. Then we talked about the rentals. Like if you do flip rental, you can offset some of your tax stuff as well. And then the final thing is you do have to pay your taxes. So I'll answer Gabriel's question here, and then we can wrap it up. So he's saying, can you do a 1031 exchange on a flip? So Gabriel might have missed earlier. You can. It does have some pros and cons. So with the 1031, the timelines, that's probably the biggest thing. Like the little $600 fee to enter, exit, that's not that big of a deal. My concern was more the timelines. So it's like 45 days to identify a property and then 6 months to close on it. And it's that 45 days, which is really tough. I know Gabriel, like obviously Gabriel's a student of mine. He bought his first flip a couple months ago, and he bought his second flip actually today. I think it officially closes tomorrow, but congrats to him. And where was I going with that? So congrats to him. You can do 1031 exchange on a flip. Oh, so I was talking about, so with you and your knowledge and your expertise, like, you know how hard it is to get a deal. So for you to say, like, I have to get a deal in 45 days, that just puts you in a tough spot. Because that might be hard to perform on, honestly. That's my 2 cents on that. Then we have Jamar says, you answered it when you stated that the rentals can offset for each flip. Yeah, appreciate it, Jamar. Yeah, so you can offset it that way. And what about an S corp? Does that help? So how I have mine set up, it's like an LLC, and then it has like an S corp designation. So it looks like an S corp for tax purposes, but then I guess for legal purposes, like an LLC, I'm not sure on that. Talk to your tax team and your accountant team and your legal team. That's what my team told me on that. That's what they explained to me, like, hey, this is how you should set up. So I did, and they said it's better for taxes. So I said, great, okay, let's do it. So that's how I have mine set up. So LLC with an S corp designation, and that's working for me. So I appreciate it. Very cool. I appreciate the question, Jamar. Appreciate the question, Gabriel. Well, we can wrap it up there. I appreciate you guys taking the time. A little more background on me. So I fix and flip houses. I also mentor people how to get started in fix and flipping, how to get your first deal, how to get to 6 figures, 6 figures. How do you get the deal? How do you get the money? How do you run your numbers? How do you deal with taxes? Since that's relevant. And so I teach you everything A to Z so you can actually make this happen. It's pretty guided, hands-on mentorship just to help you every step of the way. Make sure you achieve your goals, whatever that is. So sounds good. If you want any more information, feel free to reach out or drop a comment below. I'm here to help, and we'll kind of take it from there. But we'll wrap it up there. Appreciate it, guys, and we'll talk soon.